Guy lost his hat on a suspended roller coaster and decided to climb the fence to get it back afterwards. Quite literally had his head kicked off by a lady on the ride as it went by, which also shattered her leg. Welcome to Daily Dose Reddit. Theme park workers, what's the scariest, creepiest thing that has happened at your job? A girl I used to know worked at Wet n Wild Sydney for a season when she was in uni. One night, she was working on the lazy river ride, the kind of one where you sit on an inflatable tube and just bob along, when she noticed some legs coming out of the tube, with the rest of the body trapped in the water under the tube. She shat herself when she saw it and ran over to help the trapped person, only to realize it was a mannequin that had obviously been placed there as a prank. Six Flags Magic Mountain. While stocking up one of the carts from within an unused, empty location, I had an unexplainable experience. The location I was in used to be a restaurant that served pizza, Laughing Dragon near Superman if you're familiar with the park. It's empty and void of life and only gets used on occasion for maybe some training. The tables that are used for the restaurant were stacked upside down on one side. The tables were heavy, concrete-top tables and would take two guys to move them. Upon entering the location and beginning my inventory, I felt uneasy and chalked it up to being tired and creeped cause it was late. To get to the stock room, you have to pass by the dining area with the tables, and I did so without incident. After counting our overpriced ice creams, I turn around to head out the way I came and lock up. What met me as I turned around the dark corner freaked me out. Right there, blocking my exit, were three tables sitting right side up and lined up obstructing the path. I called out if anyone was there and was met with silence. I simply turned around and ran to the back entrance and left the building from there. Afterwards, I explained to a coworker how I was alone up there and heard absolutely no one and how the heavy as hell tables got moved and flipped so swiftly and silently. I was then later told that a little boy with a heart condition ran all the way up the hill racing his friends and essentially dropped dead right in front of that restaurant, probably 10 feet from where the incident occurred. I hate closing at night now. You ever been in an empty kids area after dark? After the music has been turned off. It's just after a rainstorm too, so everything seems extra quiet and there's mist rising from ground because of the Florida heat. You have to stay a bit because your supervisor has a question to ask and then you remember you left your water bottle at one of the rides and go to get it. With some of the lights turned off for the night, it's darker than you're used to. You remember your coworker mentioning the ghost that haunts one of the bathrooms in the area because the spooky atmosphere is making your thoughts go there. And then this fucking song starts suddenly playing over the speakers. Sure, it was the technical people trying to figure out which speaker was the one that had blown out. But for a few seconds I was convinced I stumbled into some sort of horror movie. Worked at a water park in high school. They had one of those slides where you get dumped out into a big funnel and rock up one side then back down and up the other until you get funneled out. Well, one of the workers wasn't doing his job right and let several heavy people into one group tube and went way over the weight limit. They went up one side, kept going, and fell 40 feet to the bottom of the funnel. I heard one of them died. They shut down the ride for a while after that. I was the supervisor of the parking toll plaza. My supervisors called and told us to keep a lookout for a specific car that the police thought might be coming to the park. Okay, no biggie, probably someone smoking pot or something. My supervisors called back 5 minutes later. Oh, by the way, he has a gun, don't tell the cashiers that though. So for 1.5-ish hours, until the end of my shift, when I left my fellow supervisor to deal with it, I was low-key checking the license plate of every car matching the description that pulled up. Easily the scariest thing that happened in my 2.5 seasons there. I am a former theme park worker. I was working the haunted house and about 20 minutes before closing this really creepy guy showed up and asked to go in and I said yeah. He had a really glazed look to his eyes and was wearing a red and white striped shirt and overalls and spoke in a really high-pitched falsetto. Well, 20 minutes later he hadn't exited the haunted house yet and it usually took about 5 minutes to walk through it. At the end of my shift I had to go in and walk through the haunted house by myself, which is already really scary for me, but made even scarier because I knew the guy was still in there. I decided to suck it up and I walked in trying to be confident, but only about a quarter through I heard him talking to himself up ahead in a really creepy voice. saying stuff like, "It's scary." "No, it's not." Freaked out, I turned around and ran out and got my manager and asked him to walk through the haunted house for me. In that time the guy must have left because when me and my manager walked through the haunted house together he was gone. When I worked at a Florida park with a mouse and a castle, I was working late on the 4th of July, waiting so long for the bus. A coworker asked if me and my other photography coworker wanted a lift back to the apartments. Getting back to our complex involves going past the transport hub. There was so much commotion, we figured it was holiday guests and snuck down the back roads. I get home and my roommate is freaking out trying to find her brother and saying there was an accident on the monorail and that's where he worked. He finally shows up to our apartment crying, saying one of the monorail drivers died because 2 monorails crashed into each other. Crying in my living room. I was never more stunned and shocked and scared as I was right there. I knew the safety, I knew the dangers, but thought it simply couldn't happen. Thank you so much for watching.